Hello there, welcome to my channel. You're probably thinking, who is this bloke? Why are you here? That's a great question. Well, you've stumbled on um, probably one of the worst channels you're ever going to find, but that's okay because you're here now, so welcome. This video is basically just a PSA to let everybody know how good this brand new Space Marine 2 update is. It's Siege mode. It's absolutely fantastic, and I am going to basically just be talking a little bit about why it's so good and why I'd recommend it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to me waffling on about this brand new update. If you like the video, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't already, please. Also, hit the like button, drop me a comment, become a chum today. It's worth it. Trust me, I know I'm the captain. Anyway, let's get into it. Bye. Alright. Hello, chums and potential new chums. Space Marine 2's new update is here, and it is absolutely brilliant. Apologies for the cringe intro. I'm not really sorry. It was very fun. So, why am I talking about Space Marine 2 today? Well, it's because this update has been brilliant when it comes to new content. So, starting off, we've got a couple of cosmetic packs. We've got a Blood Angels cosmetic pack, and we've got the White Scars character pack. So, we've got two new chapters now with some additional cosmetics, which people I know always like to see, which is very cool. And I've had a look through them. I haven't bought them myself, but I've had a look in the armor and character customization, and they look really good. I think the White Scars champion pack, in my opinion, looks better. I like the attention to detail on that one. But to be honest, the Blood Angels one looks very good as well. Okay, so what is Siege mode? Well, essentially, it is a survival mode. If you've ever played World War Z, that has a very similar mode in it, where essentially you spawn in the map and you basically just have to defend an area while completing sub-objectives. Okay? So the new map itself is set on Kodaku, which is, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's essentially the new map is set on the planet where we completed a lot of the missions for the Tyranids. But unlike those missions, we aren't just fighting the Tyranids here, we also have the option to fight the Chaos Forces as well, which is cool. Essentially, because that just helps to give a bit of diversion in the gameplay, because we're not just fighting one enemy force, we're now fighting two. So that's point good number one. Now the second point, which we can go is, okay, this is cool, is the fact that there is a wave system. So essentially, every 5 waves, you'll get like a boss fight, and the more waves you complete, the bigger the boss fight is. So on wave 1, you might fight one of the bigger boss enemies, that either being the Carnifex or the Dreadnought, which is always on round 5. So after round 5, you can either choose to end the game, take the very small reward you get for completing those 5 waves and return to the menu, or you can continue down the elevator and complete another 5 waves, which is really cool because it effectively gives you the opportunity to continue if you want to, or if you're finding it a bit challenging and maybe you went down too many times or used too much equipment to begin with, you can start afresh and maybe start again as a different class or something. Brilliant. And the reason this is so good is, even though it's just one map, the fact that there is so much replayability here, I think, is fantastic. I think the community as a whole has been screaming out for more content. So to give us something which you can drop in and play, and although the map itself isn't changing, the fact that there is so many enemies all at once, and the fact that you aren't just fighting one faction, I think is very good. And I expect that this is going to help our community, keep the attention held for a bit longer. I think that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. So what else with this siege mode? So we've also now got access to the Dreadnought support, which is effectively an AI Dreadnought, a really big, chunky suits, which we can call in for 3 minutes to help us when fighting the enemies, which is really cool because I know that a lot of people did say they wanted a playable Dreadnought in the game. To be honest, I don't see that happening. I just don't think the scale in Space Marine 2 is big enough for that to work well. I think in Space Marine 3 in the future, it could be possible if they make the maps larger where you could move around a bit more freely. But because so many of the areas that we fight in are quite small, I think it would be difficult to actually implement something like a Dreadnought well. And also there's a question of balancing, because in the lore the Dreadnoughts are incredibly strong compared to your average Space Marine, so how on earth would that work even balancing wise? So I think it's a good choice that they've just made this as an AI support for a few minutes. Also, with this new system, they've added AI Marines. So now you can call in one of each of the different Space Marine classes, which will provide a bonus. Again, for a limited time, but that's cool. It's just like it's essentially just another AI support player, if you like, just to help you get him through the rounds, which is really cool. And I'm glad that they've added this because obviously, if you're playing solo, especially the higher difficulty you get, it's hard. This mode, I was only playing on the normal difficulty, and you really do feel a jump in difficulty as the waves progress, which is excellent. I like the fact that this is a challenging mode. It gives us, as a player base, a reason to keep going back and playing it and trying to beat our old high score. I think that's a brilliant decision. Along with Siege mode, they've also given us some cosmetic rewards, which we get for completing a certain amount of waves, which is a nice little bonus. It essentially just means that as you're completing more rounds, you get access to skins for effectively every weapon in the game. And I believe that if you pass 50 rounds in Siege, I don't think that means you have to survive 50 rounds in one go. I think it's 50 rounds in total. You get access to an armor cosmetic for the right pauldron, which is very cool. Free armor is always appreciated, especially when I'd say that it's hard fought for in this case. I just think that as a whole, this map is great. The map itself, although it is quite linear, I think what's important to remember here is a lot of the maps that we are playing on are very, they are quite linear. We are effectively always moving forward, or we are, sort of staying in the same area. So I've got no complaints with that. What I really like is how refreshing the combat is. I mean, I've pretty much said it in my previous sort of longer video when I was talking about patch 7. I said one of the strongest points of this game is the combat, and I stand by that now. The fact that we have a mode which is effectively just about the combat, it's just about fighting and surviving. I love the parrying, the dodging systems, all the different weapons that as you level them up, they get different abilities that you can add on to them. I think this is fantastic, and I think as a whole, this is just really good, really good. I think I would be curious to see if anything else is done with this mode in the future, though. I mean, I noticed in previous, back in patch 6, we got access to the data vault. I've noticed once again there's been no update to the data vault, so we've got no new challenges to complete, which is a little bit disappointing. Especially considering that when you complete a match, at the end there is actually a when you open the menu, you can actually see a list of almost like smaller challenges that you complete while in siege mode, which will give you like a little bit of requisition. It would have been nice if that was maybe added into the data vault, but instead of it being such a small number, it was a much larger number. So you could, it would take more than 1 or 2 games to complete, and maybe that could give us some more rewards or something. But then I understand the whole point of Data Vault was it was about fleshing out the enemies and the factions that we are playing with, and we haven't got any new factions or enemies apart from the Trigon, which appeared last season. That's the only difference when it comes to enemies. It's not like we're encountering the Necrons or the Tau forces or anything like that. So I don't actually think the Data Vault is going to be updated. Just thought that might be worth mentioning. Now, jumping over to the effectively just the balancing, because there has been some changes to just the general gameplay. They've changed. They've effectively changed some of the perks for all the different classes. I don't know why I struggled to say that. Apologies. So starting off, firstly, this is quite big. The Bulwark class now has access to the Thunder Hammer, which is brilliant. So by doing this, by equipping this, you won't get access to the Storm Shield. Instead, you get the Thunder Hammer, which I think is wicked, and also because the Thunder Hammer and the Storm Shield together wouldn't work, because it's a two-handed weapon. You couldn't really do that with the shield in the other hand. They've also added new finishers for the Bulwark with shield. One for the Tyranids and one for the Chaos enemies. Apparently, for the Terminus update for absolute difficulty, a second Terminus enemy can appear during missions, which is interesting. Because as you progress in the siege mode, every 5 rounds, you obviously can encounter more than one Carnifex or more than one Hellbrute. I got to round, I think it was 15, and I was fighting 3 Carnifexes, and then played again, and I was fighting 3 Hellbrutes. And you definitely feel a spike in difficulty greatly. Sometimes it can be difficult enough just fighting one, especially when you're trying to deal with the smaller enemies. But if they start adding more than one on top of each other, you really have to work hard to keep them at bay, which I like. I like the fact that there is definitely a bit more a challenge with this siege mode. So it's quite cool that they're implementing these changes into absolute difficulty for just the standard missions. I think that's a good idea. If you've got something that works in siege mode, why not take it back and add it to the previous missions that we know work well? Why not build on it? I'd say it's good logic. So apparently, as well, there's been some other changes to the absolute difficulty. So the Carnifex, Neurothorpe and Hellbrute now all have a 33% increase in HP on absolute difficulty. Level specific Terminus enemies, with the exception of the Bio Titan, HP is now increased by 66%. So I'm guessing they're talking about probably the Helldrake and the Hive Tyrant. 66% increase in health. That is a big jump. That's big. And effectively, they're saying that these additions have been put in place to effectively make the absolute difficulty harder. I have played a few of the absolute difficulties, and I must say they are quite challenging, but they definitely sound harder now. So it will be interesting to see what that's like when it comes to gameplay. Now, just going down a little bit more of the list, there's some updates to the prestige perks. So for the Bulwark, the Rally Point perk, which when you deploy it, it removes negative status effects, has now been changed. It's now called Emboldened stand, and now when the chapter banner is active, all members do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and cannot be knocked back within its zone. Personally, I'm pretty sure there is actually a weapon perk that you can put on your weapon which prevent you from doing this. So it doesn't really sound like it's that useful. However, for the assault class, there has been quite a big change. So boosted recharge, which is effectively when collecting an armor boost, it restores your ability charge by 100%. I wouldn't say is particularly useful. They've now changed it to unyielding oath. So when a ground pound, when charging a ground pound, you now become invulnerable for 3 seconds. That's brilliant. I think as a whole, the assault class needs to be buffed because arguably, why would you play as the assault class when the vanguard is just better? The grappling hook at this moment of time is way better than having to manually slam, and the fact that you can take damage. But the fact that they've changed this now when you are charging a ground pound is good. I think this is a good start because I know a lot of people, especially who main assault perks, who main the assault class, do say that effectively it does feel weaker than some of the classes. I agree with that, and it's glad to see they've made a change, even if it's just a small change. I think this could help with balancing out some of the classes. Now, the sniper prestige update. They've changed the boosted recharge perk. This has now been reworked. Originally, again, it was when you collect an armor boost, it restores your ability charge by 100%. Now it is called material upgrade. So now equipment damage radius is increased by 15%. I'd say this is a pretty good perk. Grenades as a whole are useful. Like everything in the game, though, they are specific. Certain grenades are much better at fighting certain enemies than others. So having a perk which effectively upgrades all of your equipment damage by 15%, I'd say is good. It will just make the sniper class as a whole better with their equipment. So again, good change in rework there. For the heavy prestige update, restorative capacity, which what it used to do was activating Iron Halo removes negative status effects, has now been changed to honed precision. And what that does is new equipped weapon maximum spread decreases by 25% when firing without aiming. So if you hit firing, the heavy bolter or something, you're going to have a bit better accuracy, which I think is good. I'd say it's more useful than removing negative status effects, as there isn't really that many negative status effects that will actually affect you that badly. So I'd say again, this is a good change. Now for the tactical perks update, the skilled supplier perk, they fixed the bug, whereas apparently there was a bug preventing the player getting the maximum ammunition. That's now been fixed, which is a good start. For the bulwark perks update as a whole, just looking at the class perks updates now. Forward momentum, the perk has now been updated. So instead of it used to just do after a shield bash, melee damage increased by 30% for 10 seconds. Now, after a shield bash or thunder hammer pommel smash, melee damage increased by 30% for 10 seconds. So effectively, they've just basically just means that if you are using the shield or you are using the thunder hammer, you're still going to get the buff, which is cool. So it provides you the incentive to use either one of those. Also for the bulwark, concussive force has been updated. Instead of shield bash dealing 200% more damage, now its shield bash does 200% more damage, and the thunder hammer pommel smash does 100% more damage and deals area of effect damage within 7 meters, which is cool because the thunder hammer is designed to do area of effect damage. So I'm glad they've added this again. So far the things that have been added and and have been updated are all really good. um, Looking at the tactical perks, Final Shot has been reworked, and now it's called the Emperor's Judgment. What it used to do is after a finisher, the equipped ranged weapon reloads automatically. Now, after a finisher, the equipped ranged weapon reloads automatically and your primary damage deals 20% more damage for 10 seconds. This is a good choice, especially for me, because when I play the tactical, I like to use the melter rifle. So the fact that when I complete a finisher, it will reload my weapon and then it will allow me to do additional damage with it. This is a great mix because normally how I play is when I'm fighting the Tyranid warriors and stuff, is sometimes it can take a few shots to get rid of them, and then what I'll essentially do is I will finish one off, be able to reload my weapon, which I've probably done quite a few times in this gameplay if I remember rightly. I'll then move on to the other one. So the fact that I'm getting a bonus damage boost on top of the reload is a great choice here. Communion of Fire for the tactical has also been changed. It's now called Secure Stockpile. So it used to provide you with recoil is reduced by 25% and range damage against extremist level enemies is increased by 10% for all squad members. I used to have this one equipped. Now what it provides is it now gives you an equipment charge every 60 seconds for all squad members. Pretty useful, I'd say, especially for the siege mode because of the amount of enemies. If you've got an extra grenade coming in every 60 seconds, that's great. Steady aim perk has been buffed. So essentially it used to provide you a range damage by 10%, now it's 15%. For the assault perks, there's been an update. Winged Fury. It used to provide you a 40% damage increase for melee attacks executed while sprinting or dashing. Now it's 100%. Hammer of Wrath has also been buffed. So it used to be after a ground pound you take 15% less damage, and you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now the damage reduction has been increased to 20%. Knockback immunity has increased from 10 seconds to 15 seconds. So again, they've buffed the assault class with... It's a very small buff, but I think that it will all add up, and this is great. For Vanguard, the moving target perk has been buffed. So what it used to do is each melee attack you land reduces the range damage you take by 2% up to 20%. If you do not land a melee attack for 5 seconds, the effect ends. Now that hit multiplier has been increased from 2% to 5%. So now your max bonus can be 30% instead of 20%, which is very nice. The Vanguard is probably my favourite class, and it just sounds like they're just making it better. Also, Retribution, the perk has been buffed. So it used to provide you where if you were grabbed or knocked back, you deal 25% more melee damage 15 seconds. Now that bonus has increased to 25% to 30%. So now if you're grabbed, you deal 30% more damage. And the time has been increased from 15% to has been increased from 15 seconds to 20 seconds. So again, it's buffing it's just buffing your characters. And finally, for the sniper perks, the precision targeting perk has been buffed, where essentially it used to provide you weapon spread was decreased by 25%, and range damage against extremist level enemies was increased by 10%. That's now been increased to 15%, but it doesn't look like they've changed the weapon spread, so you're just getting a damage boost but not a weapon spread boost. Also, for the sniper perks, Dexterous Hands. The Instigator Bolt Carbine is also now affected by this perk. So what this perk is Bolt Carbines reload 20% faster, and their weapon spread and recoil are reduced by 15%. So it's effectively just making the all of the perks better, which I think is very important here because siege mode is difficult. So it makes sense that we're making every class just a little bit better, because if I'm honest with you, they need it. I've just in normal mode, I dread to think, I'm sure I'll play it one day, but I've only been playing the normal difficulty and it's difficult. So I'm really curious to see what it's like playing that siege mode on the hard difficulty. For weapon perks, the Infernal Pistol. The perk No Fear has been reworked, so it used to provide you with the buff where when your health is below 10%, reloading speed increases by 30%. Now it's if your armor is fully depleted, reload speed increases by 20%. I'd say this is a good buff because when your health is below 10%, you're either going to die or you're going to be stemming up straight away. So you're not really going to gain the benefit of a reload speed. But if your armor's fully depleted, that is a much better use of the perk. Also, the Neo Vocalite pistol has been updated, where the combustive momentum has been buffed. So after a gun strike, heating speed increases by 30% for 6 seconds, where it used to be 2 seconds. So they've added additional 4% onto that one, which is cool. And that's it when it comes to the almost like the tweaks and the perks and stuff for the classes. So in conclusion then, I would say as a whole, Space Marine 2 Siege Mode is a brilliant addition to this game. They seem to have fleshed out the combat. They've been, well, adding some new buffs to all of the classes, which I think is great because it gives the players incentive to try out every different class. And they've also provided us with, well, brand new content, brand new map, brand new voice lines. It's really fun to fight alongside the Dreadnought as well as the Imperial Guard, because we love the Imperial Guard on this channel. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. So yeah, I think that's it from my end. Now I'm going to be going back to present Jamo to finish off the video. Thank you very much if you made it this far. Back to present Jamo. Alright, thank you past Jamo. Appreciate all of the boring introductory and info. Back to me, present Jamo, just to say thank you very much if you made it this far into the video. This is pretty much it today. So me and Monolith Moo here of the Necron faction are basically here to say goodbye. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah, chum, we've already done that bit, but I'm just reminding you, if you've made it this far, pop a little comment in, just say chum, and I'll know that you're one of the boys. Anyway, take care guys, I'll see you guys soon.